All right. So hello everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Talk, something that I've been wanting to do for a while, but just kept not doing it. And who other than my very first guest, the great
Me?
Santiago. So tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
I'm the guy who runs the Mthntc channel, or Mthntc, or no, that's the only names I use. I try to preserve new metal. I'm a nerd.
And you do a very good job at it.
I hope I do, yeah.
So what the goal of what I'm trying to do with Talk is I want to have various guests on, and I want them to bring to the table 3 albums that mean something to them in one way or another. And so I have asked Santiago to come up with 3 albums that mean something to him, whether in a good way or a bad way. And I want you to tell me your first album, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit.
So my first pick was that one album that I've always asked you to listen to by Muck.
Oh, okay. I could not tell you what the actual name of the album is, but yes.
Kuchiki no To or something like that. I can't pronounce it, but it's something about the woods and lamps and decaying shit, something like that.
All right. I know that kind of changed my opinion on, because my previously, like, my knowledge of like Japanese nu metal basically stuck to like Duran Gray and Maximum the Hormones from Japan, right? Yeah, so those two, and they didn't leave the best impressions on me. But Muck felt different, and I really liked it. So how did you first hear about Muck?
I don't remember how I got to them. Hold on. So I was doing some disc browsing, so trying to find some obscure new metal and Discogs.
As we
That
do.
was that was 2018. So before I did all of this preservation thing, I was just looking for cool covers, and I ended up, coming across this one, which is, I guess, some sort of tree, super traditional. It's got some interesting frames. It's Japanese. It looks cool. It just appeals to me, and I decided to, hey, I'm gonna check something out of this. And I went to YouTube, and the very first track that I came across was The Closer, the 8-minute, masterpiece.
Yes.
That is, very unlike the rest of the album, and also by far my favorite.
It definitely has a very different vibe, but it's welcome. Like, that whole album is really good. What makes that album special for you?
In 2018, I was coming out of a bit of a shitty place in my life. So, especially the last track, which hits super hard emotionally, I guess it was very cathartic to me.
And
yeah,
aside from that track, what are some of your other favorite songs in the album?
Basically anything from the first 6 songs. It's super good. I think it's
from what I remember, like, the first 3 are all bangers. Like, they're all really good, and they were all memorable.
Yes.
I just do not remember a single title because I don't speak Japanese.
You get used to it.
I imagine, like, if I spent more time with it, yeah, I imagine I would. Like, I really do need to dig more into international nu metal, like, and stop being scared of non-English speaking bands. So you came across them in 2018, and it really, like, it hit you. Has it influenced your, like, taste going forward? Like, have you said, I need to search for more stuff that sounds exactly like, not exactly, but like in a similar frame of this? Like, you're searching for another Muck?
I don't think it has in that way, but it definitely opened me up to more Japanese nu metal. And also it made me realize how much I appreciate music where the vocals aren't necessarily like perfect, but they're filled with emotion, and have these sort of screams that sound super natural and super, like, they don't have a sort of technique. They feels like the guys ripping the fuck out of his throat.
I know exactly what you mean.
I love that
Um,
so much.
it is very good, and he is very like, even though as I've stated, I don't know what he's saying. You would have a better idea, but he does like he is going all in on everything he's doing. So yes, you can just vibe with it. You don't need to necessarily know word for word what he's saying.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
you feel it. So take us back to early Santiago, young Santiago. What
Hmm.
was the first music? What was the first type of music that you enjoyed? Like it
The
doesn't
very
need to
first
be,
in my life.
yeah.
Hmm. I remember vibing to Queen, some Evanescence, a bit of Linkin Park back at like age 3, 4.
Oh,
And
okay.
then at around age 10, I was super into Michael Jackson. And then 11 to 12, I found out about Slipknot, and that was the end.
I still remember being shown Slipknot at a really like a young age. Um, like I was shown Wait and Bleed, I think, and I might have been 15. And at that time, like the heaviest stuff I knew was like Rob Zombie and Marilyn Manson. So like, and I had been I recall being shown Cannibal Corpse in high school by a friend, but like didn't even like register in my head that it was music. Like it was just this
Yeah,
weird
too harsh.
noise. Yeah, like it just
Yeah.
like I thought it was funny because like it just didn't register as music. And then when I was shown Slipknot, I was like, oh, I don't know how I feel about it. And I didn't know how I felt about it for a while, like until I started getting into more aggressive stuff. Um, when did oh, and you mentioned Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson took me way too long to actually get into. Like
Really?
I for years, like I just kept like I would hear a song and I'm like, yeah, it's all right. And then just years would go by because it wasn't necessarily something that like I would drift towards, like stylistically. And then there was one random day where I heard Bad and Billie Jean in the same day. And I was like, man, I really like those songs. And so I went out and I think on Spotify he had his greatest hits thing. And then I just went through the whole thing and I was like, wow, I was an idiot. All this is really good.
Indeed, you were.
Yeah, it happens. So you mentioned some of the band, like you mentioned, like Linkin Park and Evanescence and Slipknot. So was that the beginning of you becoming a new metal fan, or was there where they were just kind of like bands you were like, this is kind of cool, or when
Ah,
was it the new metal really started hitting for you?
yeah. So Linkin Park and Evanescence really did nothing on me. I know I vibed to the singles on Linkin Park and Bring Me to Life, but that was I wasn't into music. I wasn't a music kid back then.
Okay.
But I remember once I got into Slipknot was around the time I got more into spending time with a computer and playing video games and just digging more music. So yeah, I remember digging the singles from All Hope Is Gone. That was my introduction to metal, basically. And once I got tired of that, I started digging more, and I got to Self-Titled, and that was probably the proper introduction I had to new metal. And
Where did you kind of drift after that, or did you just kind of stay like in the mainstream bubble a little bit?
I don't really know. I I do know that I really lingered around Slipknot and maybe Deftones by the end of 2015-ish. So it took me a few years. I don't really
Okay.
know what I was listening to after that, but no, I didn't really dig the mainstream, as you would say. It's more like Slipknot, Deftones, maybe Limp Bizkit. Very late in my years,
But
but
but you're if I know nothing else about you, you're definitely a big mainstream fan now.
oh yeah,
All the favorites. So on top of being a music fan as much as you are now, uh, you are also a musician.
indeed.
When did you start to develop an interest in making music? Like you said, you weren't a big music fan early on. It was just kind of a thing that existed. When did you start having an interest in making music?
That came out of nowhere, basically. I remember back in early 2015, I was thinking about making a video game, and that's where the TS51 name came out of. I needed a bit of a code name or something cool to call it by. So I was trying to make some sort of game, and I needed a soundtrack. And I thought, hey, maybe I can do something with one of these funny programs on the computer.
Yeah.
And eventually, I stopped, working on the video games, and thought, well, maybe I could do something, some sort of soundtrack for myself while I play video games. And I got FL Studio, and I sketched something, and I loved it. And that was basically it.
Yeah, I forever ago, like before I even had the slightest interest in making music, uh I had friends who had this old archaic program called RPG Maker. Like this is like late 90s. Um and it was fascinating to me that I could just open this program and make some really crappy RPG in like 15 minutes. Like, look what I can do. I can move on the screen and text pops up. Um but yeah, no, what kind did you have programs that you were using to try and make games before that kind of drifted off?
I was trying to learn to use Unity. I was also doing a bit of RPG Maker on the side, but it
Okay,
wasn't super like. I'm not a big fan of RPGs as a whole.
fair
And
enough.
then I remember I was also sketching the whole game that I wanted to do in the Amnesia engine thingy.
Oh, okay,
The Dark
okay.
Descent. You can
Yeah.
do custom stories, and I was doing custom models and textures and all of that. And I was just having fun.
I had friends who were ridiculous at modding games and making custom maps, like within like Half-Life and Duke Nukem and Doom and StarCraft and all that sort of stuff. I was never that smart. So you started with TS51 was the first project.
Yeah.
Um, and you've told me before that you started to drift off and you made other projects instead of just staying under that name umbrella. Like, did you ever put anything out under the other project names, or were they just like ideas you had floating around?
For some I did release some stuff, but it was never like I left CS51 to do something else. It was more of a I'm doing CS51, but I need a quick like tangent here and there.
Something that like you've in your head stylistically you didn't think it would have fit.
Uh, yeah. I mean, later on I realized maybe I shouldn't have done anything because CS51 as a whole is very experimental, very. I do whatever I wanted with that, so
Yeah.
there was no real reason to separate.
So what is the are there plans for TS51 going forward, or is that just kind of floating around while you're at school?
I actually kind of gave it an end back in 2019. I was planning to do an album and I couldn't finish it, and I just ended up releasing a single. And I thought, okay, maybe I'll do my career and all of that, my studies, and come back in 2024, 2025, and finish the album, and then do whatever. I don't know if I'm gonna go through with that.
I mean,
Um,
who knows? Like, it's something that you can pick back up. It's not like it's a death knell.
yeah, but it's also
Um,
about how you work in music, the
yeah,
headspace and all that.
yes. So I know that with a lot of the stuff you do, you use a lot of virtual instruments. Do you play actual instruments as well, or is that something you've never owned?
I do have a guitar off screen. It's a piece of real shit that I had for like 10 years and I barely played.
Okay.
So I technically do play something. Realistically, no.
Okay. But you like, all right. So yeah, you're far more comfortable with the virtual.
Yep.
I get that. All right. So back to the main topic. What is your second album that you would like to talk about?
I actually don't have an order here, so I'm gonna maybe the first one King Mongi or Mongi put out Fear the Little People. I don't know if you've heard it.
I think you showed me one or two songs from it, and I
Oh
remember
yeah,
liking it.
language and smile. Yeah,
It's the vocalist is a little weird, if I
yeah,
remember right. Okay.
that's the one.
So how did you? Was it the same situation with Muck? Is you heard it through digging through Discogs, or do you find it a different way?
This one was well into having the archive and the group and all of that. I was just going through my files and seeing what I could listen to,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought, okay, King Mongi looks interesting. Fear the Little People, whatever. Gonna put it on, and I despised it at first because the shitty vocals and the bad mixing and all of that. But something about it kept me going back, and I guess eventually I turned around on it,
There was
and now
something that
it's
just lightly dug its claws in and didn't let you
the
go.
vocals, the fucking vocals. That's it. They're horrible, but they're also super good.
Yeah, I know, I've definitely had bands like that, like where I hear it and I'm like, ugh. Especially like vocal, because I've done vocals for years. So like if I hear a bad vocalist, there's been many times where I just go, oh, what is that guy's problem? But there's something like in the back of my mind that like I remember it, like with certain bands. And like even if like the vocalist may not be like up to snuff really, like it like sticks in my head, and then all of a sudden some of these bands, Dragpipe is a good example of like a new metal band where like the vocalist is not a great vocalist, but there was something there that like just kept like sticking in my head, and then like so they just kind of became one of my favorite short-lived new metal bands. But yeah, I can understand the King Monkey thing. Where are they from?
I think Australia,
Okay, so Sunkaloto area.
basically, yeah.
And is what makes them special for you, King Monkey?
I don't really know about that.
It's just something you
I
enjoy
I
listening
really
to.
just really like, yeah, something about the vocals, the confidence of the guy singing, and the uniqueness, I guess, of the instrumentals. Just good music, great
His
fucking music.
vocalist is just like, I'm going for it. I don't
Yeah,
care.
I suck at this, but I'm gonna do it anyway, and I'm
What are
gonna
your
enjoy.
favorite? What are some of your favorite King Monkey songs?
Probably all of them.
The
To be
entire
honest,
album?
I enjoy the entire album. Yeah.
Okay.
Also the follow up and the 2003 demo, and also the single. The fucking I haven't come across a single track from these guys that I think is mediocre. It's
Which
pretty
which is
strange, I
a
guess.
yeah, it's a rarity in music most of the time. They only have two albums, and then the demo.
Uh, I guess two albums, you could say that. Two demos, one of which is kind of lost media at this point. I'm
Oh,
trying to
that
get it.
sucks.
And then one single, maxi single, something like that.
I assume that lost piece of media is very high on your list of things you are hoping to one
One,
day
yeah.
find.
It's 4 songs that I really want to listen to. So yeah.
All right, so let's get into the super serious questions here.
Hmm.
What got you to start having an interest in flax?
Inflax.
What was your introduction to it? Like, because like I didn't know what flax were, and I'm gonna be honest, up until you guys, I didn't know how to play them. Like because I used what, iTunes, Spotify, Windows Media Player, and guess what? None of those programs do play
Please
those.
blank.
Yeah, so I was like, why do I keep having these files? I can't play them. What is the point? But so what put you down the flack road?
Actually, it was very like late into the archive, so I was doing MP3s and whatnot, and I thought, hey, I've seen flags, and I know that they hold like higher quality or high bit rate, something like that. Uh, maybe they're actually better. And I started reading about them, and I saw, hey, they store all the quality. You don't lose anything. And I thought, hey, that's pretty cool. If I'm gonna be archiving stuff, maybe I should start getting those.
So what's for somebody who's not a big audiophile, isn't that like I can clearly tell when something sounds better than another thing, but what's the difference between a FLAC and a wave?
So Wave, you basically store all the data without any sort of like intelligent computery math stuff. So
Mhm.
the files are super big, but they don't take, sorry, they don't take too much computer power to actually play. With Flex, you have the data which is stored more like uh, efficiently, sorry.
You're good.
And you know, it takes less space. It's the same quality, but I guess technically you get a bit of you need a bit of a tiny sliver of power to play them.
Okay.
So it's a weird way to put it, but and the amount of power you need is super marginal. It's next to nothing, but worth noting.
That's good. Yeah. All right. So as has been like evident in the discussion so far, you do run a digital preservation society. And it's mostly been flax. What is what is the main end goal that you see as reasonable for like what you're trying to do? Like
Reasonable. Oh,
is
okay.
it just to get as much as you possibly can? Because God knows we're never going to get everything. But
Yeah. Yeah. The reasonable goal is to keep hoarding as much as we can, and eventually, open up some sort of website or server or something and put everything up there. Like I don't know if you're familiar with 1001new.com.
I've seen it mentioned a ton of times, and I may have visited it before, but I couldn't tell you anything about it.
It's basically a site where some guy is uploading a lot of new metal or links to new metal.
Mhm.
I basically want to do that, but much more complete with like information, videos, images, basically a whole new metal Wikipedia.
Which not many places have, and most websites like something like Rate Your Music, or I know there's a bunch of other ones that I'm just drawing a blank on, or Metal Archives, kind of new metal's kind of shoved to the side, so it would be something a bit more centric in that world, which yeah, there's not many left of those. And every new metal site I've seen over the years, aside from like that one, which I've seen mentioned tons of times, most other sites I've seen just like kind of fall by the wayside within like a year. They're like, I don't want to do this anymore. But you're gonna stick it out. Santiago's
I'm
gonna
gonna
do
try,
it.
yeah.
So being from the United States, I know very little about Argentina, where you're from. What was your upbringing like? Like, what was it like to grow up in Argentina?
I don't think I could say much because I was very sheltered as a kid.
Okay.
Uh, I stayed at home as much as I could. I played a lot of video games and music growing up. So I guess you could ask any parasites on America how they live,
Uh,
and that's basically me.
okay. That wasn't helpful at all.
I mean, you could add some financial instability and I
we
guess
we've all been there.
it's constant here. I
It's not
fucking
much
hate it.
better in most sections of America. Like
Mm,
despite what they try and showcase that like there's like 1% of rich assholes here, and then that's kind of it. And the rest of us are living like check to check. Um was is there much of a local music scene where you are?
in my like string of cities, absolutely not. Everything you could see from Argentina is probably from Buenos Aires, which is the capital, the big province, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So where I'm from, you get nothing, 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 and nothing.
Oh, well, that's no
That's
fun.
it.
Yeah, like prior, like the amount of my knowledge of South American stuff mostly came from like Brazil. But yeah, Argentina I know very little about. Um, even like even when I was like searching for like metal bands years ago, like I don't recall Argent. Are there any like decent exports from your country that like made some sort of splash somewhere else
In terms of new metal,
in terms of any genre, really?
oh yeah, definitely. We have Messi. No,
Yeah,
um,
I don't know what that is.
no, the guy who plays football. No, but we have
Oh,
uh,
oh,
we
never
have
mind.
Soda Stereo. I don't know if you know them.
I don't think so.
They're they were active in the 80s and 90s. Super important Latin American band.
What was the name again?
Soda Stereo.
Soda Stereo. I don't think I know them.
They get one super popular song that you may know.
Okay.
What else? In regards to metal, I guess we have Animal, which is
Oh,
probably one of the biggest.
yeah, you've
You
shown
know
me
them.
them.
Yeah,
I do
yeah.
like them.
I did show you their new metal phase, but I think they got really big off of their thrash or group metal phase, which was earlier in the 90s.
There were a few thrash bands that kind of went new metal. It was a little weird. Like the early Depswa stuff that me and Orion were talking about recently when
Oh
they
yeah,
were carcinogen, they were kind of thrash. That I only recently learned that Insolence is on Metal Archives because their first album is thrash, and I had no idea about that. I'd never heard it.
really?
Yeah, I've never heard
Which
it
one is
before.
it?
I could not tell you.
Okay.
It's whatever the debut release is because they had a different vocalist and that was the reason they were on. Basically, it says this is how they treat new metal. Um, but
Vicious Circle. Okay. Oh, that's the one.
yeah, but like basically, it says in the little thing that every release after this isn't metal. It's like yeah, okay, that's fair enough. So you spoke of
Okay.
video games. What are some of your favorite video games?
I'm a very mainstream baby in terms of that, I guess.
That's perfectly fine. I
I
am
should
too.
I should say maybe Minecraft, Terraria, Amnesia. I'd love to mod that shit. Resident Evil 4.
Are you excited about the
Um,
remake?
yeah, very. But
I've loved all the only remake I was kind of iffy on was 3, but that's because
yeah, everyone
I
was.
felt it was short and they cut a
Yeah,
bunch of
that's
stuff out.
basically
But like the parts that were there were good. 2 was amazing and the remake of 1 was amazing. So I'm looking forward to 4. Um are you a Silent Hill fan at all or was that
I
way too
tried I tried 2 and 3 and I couldn't, you
they're
know,
they are they're often compared to Resident Evil because the horror element, but they're definitely a lot slower and more atmospheric. So I completely understand why certain people don't like them. I love those games though. What are you a movie fan?
I tried getting into movies, but no, not really. I
What about
once in a while I get into one sort of super obscure movie, but
okay?
overall not.
You got to stick to the obscure.
Yeah.
What about books?
Books, zero. Nothing.
Okay. I don't read. Reading is for peasants.
I'm a monkey.
Yeah, fair enough. We're all monkeys sometimes. So I assume along with movies, you don't watch TV at all? No TV
Nothing,
shows?
no.
Okay. So you stick to video games and music. What are you going to school for?
I'm trying to get a degree in psychology.
Okay. How many more years do you have to do that before you or
I think 2.
okay. And have you started to map out a plan for after that or are you just kind of winging it?
No.
Okay, fair enough. Big questions, I know, I'm sorry.
Taking things in as they come.
I know we have a small knit group of friends in like the various new metal Discord groups we're in. How like I know how I met them because I got dragged into New Chord. Um, but how did you meet them, or was it in a similar fashion?
Basically the same, yeah. I was in the server prior to Nucor. Um, I think I joined out of trying to find one of my holy grails, which I own now.
What was that?
Hold on. This is one of the very few opportunities that I have to show off. So, right.
Do it.
Zona.
Oh, okay. I
That
don't
one.
think I've ever actually heard that, but I've seen you mention it before, and I've seen it in
Yeah.
your files.
I've been after this piece of shit for I think close to 4 or 5 years, and
And
I
now
finally
you
have it.
got it.
I'm
Now
happy.
you just need to get that shun cassette.
Oh yeah, promising also.
Yeah, I've heard talk about the pre-new chord Discord, but that was obviously way before my time.
Yeah, it was basically the same as Nucor, but under a different, I guess, management.
Oh,
And
nice.
it fell out of nowhere, and Nucor came out of nowhere, basically.
Okay. All right. So, do you have your third album that you would like to talk about?
I'm gonna have to pick now.
Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Can I do 2?
Yes, let's do 2.
This is very hard. Okay, so Todd, Wake of Autumn.
Mm-hmm.
That's I definitely mentioned that a ton. And Oedipus Elisa.
Oh, okay. I've seen you type that. I didn't know how that was said though. All right, so talk about those 2. How did you hear those?
Both the same way that I did King Mongi, I guess. I was digging through my files and I thought, hey, this sounds interesting. I'm gonna listen to it, and I loved it.
Do they not have a weird vocalist?
No, but they have other things that make them
Unique.
beautiful, interesting, enjoyable.
Okay.
So yeah, what?
Oh no, I was gonna ask. So have you ever gone to like shows or anything?
Never, no.
Oh, you need to go to shows. Um, if you could, if you could build a 5-band show that you could go and watch all time, who would you put on that set?
I don't fucking know, because if you ask me to do my top 5 favorites, I still feel like I need to do some sort of like thematic show or something like that.
So it like flowed.
So yeah, so
Okay.
I can't pick. I can't
That's okay.
pick for that.
It was just something that popped in my head. So what are some of your favorite songs from those 2 bands?
From Todd, I guess I like the entire album. There's very few dots. I think there's one song that I usually skip, and then the intro is, and that's basically it. And from Oedipus, that one I'm a bit more torn on. There's
Okay.
like 3 or 4 songs that I don't really like and that I usually skip, but the good songs are way too good for that. They make up for the rest.
Okay, so I get you now. So it's just like these are just so high up that you're like, I don't
Yeah.
care about these other ones. This album is great.
This EP is beautiful.
Yeah.
Not the album, the EP.
Just pretend these songs don't exist.
Basically.
Cut it up for you. All right. So what do you have planned for your, I know your YouTube channel, you've been just uploading rare things that you've been able to rip yourself, or some of us have ripped for you. What do you have any plans going forward to do anything straying from just uploading, or are you just gonna keep uploading albums, or are you gonna just keep down that straight and narrow?
I was thinking of keeping the whole like new metal uploading thing going for as long as I can, and maybe also start doing some sort of podcast.
Okay.
And like reviewing underground albums.
Do it. We need more underground reviews.
Maybe one day. Yeah, because I've seen most of the like new metal podcasts do super deep dive corn analysis,
Yeah.
and maybe
It's like
we're
we're going,
going underground. We're going with Reveille.
yeah, very, very underground. The first Soulfly album. It's
Yeah,
like,
I hate
okay,
that so much. That's a big pet peeve of mine.
yeah. Or that also doesn't help that a lot of them, like, not to be too rude, but there's a lot of them that like I've listened to episodes and they just tend to like crap on new metal. I'm like, why are you doing this then?
I definitely know which one you're talking about.
It's like if you're gonna cover it, like do a good job. Somebody
Yeah,
needs to do a good job, and that's gonna be Santiago. Do it.
one day.
It. I am gonna hold you to that. All right. Before we go, is there anything you would like to promote?
Just the archive. If you got some cool new metal CDs and you want to rip them and make sure that we keep good hold of them and reshare it and all of that. There's a Discord server for that. If not, you can email me at I'm not gonna do my email here.
I will. I
Uh,
will put the link to the Discord in the description.
Thank you. And yeah, just that. Subscribe to my channel
Do
if
it.
you can see that.
I will put a link to that in there as well.
Thank you.
But okay, so this was the very first episode of Talks Talk. There will
Hopefully
be
not
more.
terrible.
I assume it's going to be excellent and everyone's gonna love it.
Yeah.
But all right, until next time, we'll see you guys later.
Bye-bye.
Farewell. Bye. I don't know how to make it stop recording.